so I'll try to get through this kind of quickly. This trimester I decided to work on homework. The reason I decided to work on homework is because last trimester I worked on project-based learning, and one of the projects was in my documentary film class for students to make their own documentary. And one of the students, Fina, whose documentary did what it was supposed to do, which was make their audience care, made me care about students and how much homework they do. So here's all of them with the hours that they do homework. And then Theron, knowing this, can you see Theron's face? Pretty cool, pretty cool. Theron, knowing this, and he's really good at finding articles to help me, found some articles and sent them my way, which I read to get some ideas to start off my trimester of working on managing homework for students and really managing grading for myself. So Robert Marzano, who I really like, he's the person who created the idea of standards-based grading, which I know some of you are going to be like, that's going to be like, but I think that I've taken the good things about Marzano and have left the things that are maybe vague or confusing, I hope. And then Deborah Pickering, I don't know who she is. They just gave some background information here on homework and how it basically in history it ebbs and flows, as Fina has laid out in her documentary. But a few things that I found that I really wanted to try this trimester, which was assign purposeful homework, assign homework that's likely to be completed, involve parents in appropriate ways, don't overdo it, and follow up with students. A few of the other techniques were to have students start homework in class so they can answer questions and finish at home. A few other things from an article, Less is More. One of the interesting things I found in this article is homework should not be graded. Mandatory assignments that are not handed in should result in remediation and not a failing grade, which is definitely a Marzano theory, that behavior shouldn't be a part of the grade book, but ability should. So trying to do less projects that are going to affect their grade, having them do that less at home, which I really still need to work on, honestly. I feel like this trimester went in a different route than homework. And I still have a ton to work on. So all of these things that you see here, man, I feel like I could just work on them so much more. But I'll continue on with what my trimester looked like. First, I want to just say and remind you that what I had worked on last trimester, which was project-based learning, which was having a project that I could actually hang some of those concepts and ideas off of. And one example of this was the Human Genome Project. And like in my documentary film class, that was for them to make a documentary using the 5 hats of documentary filmmaking. And these were my overall takeaways from last trimester. And one of the main things that I wanted to work on was giving students a roadmap, not necessarily of objectives, but of due dates. Because what I realize is that students don't care if you have an objective of the day on the board. What they care about is what's due and what's going to go in their grade book. And so I feel like what I had to work on is how to use Canvas better to make sure that due dates were being, that the due dates of particular assignments were clear, first of all, and that students understood why they were getting grades that they were getting and how those were actually objectives. This looks kind of crazy, but this is just a reminder that I still am using what I learned in trimester 1 this trimester, even though I'm working on homework. A student is here to come meet me, so I'm going to pause this really fast. Okay, I'm back. So anyways, I still continued on with project-based learning, and this is in my pop American music class. I created this visual that we added to for the entire trimester. It's the roots of the American music. Roots down here. Here's the trunk of the tree, and then it blossoms off into all of these different genres. And then we've we've been keeping a list of all of the cultural things that have been happening, and then they use this to study for their exam, and the final has to do with this tree, and so on and so forth. So I'm still using project-based learning, but just trying to work on homework, and I'll show you an example of this for this particular class as I load this up here. Okay, so back to homework. There's Theron. So this trimester, thinking about assessment, or this is what the assignments look like for me. which is super organized, right? So we have content early blues. I probably should have labeled these a little bit better, like early blues or jazz or grunge, so they know exactly what the content is about. We also have music analysis, and they did the music analysis on the same rubric, and they're really fun little coffee houses, and they got to do more inquiry-based stuff and kind of got to analyze a little bit more. So this is the thinking part of the grade, and then of course the final here is content and analysis. However, for students, it looks like this. So they don't have any clue of the organization that I see, and they just kind of see a mess of grades. Which actually Lori helped me with this a little bit. So I don't even know if I did organize my objectives by due dates or by things in the assignments, if they would even be able to see it the way I do. But I could have, and what I think I've learned from this trimester is that as much as I can, I want to put in particular projects, not attach them to the calendar, put in particular projects for them in the assignments at the beginning of the trimester. I have some ideas on what to do for trimester 3. So in this whole thinking about homework and thinking about how I grade and why I grade the way I do and why I grade homework, I got really clustered in my head about what kind of teacher I am. And so I kind of got in this really weird place a few weeks ago where I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to teach. What kind of teacher am I? So am I a skills-based teacher? Am I? This is someone's gradebook who does more skills-based stuff. Some kids really like it, and it gives them a chance to be really, really good at stuff. The kids who I know are in this particular class do get really, really good at some things. But then I think, what about concepts? I love concepts, and maybe concepts aren't necessarily on here. And this might be an example of what Matt would do for his class on concept. He does those concept cards, and so he's really big on these concepts of segregation and de jure and de facto and all that. So am I that kind of teacher, or am I like the Walter kind of teacher who's all about content knowledge, but relevant content knowledge that's really interesting to kids? I think this is kind of where you can get your project-based learning ideas from, that relevant content. Or am I kind of like have objectives on the board every day and make sure I meet that objective every day? This is an example of Andy Slater. He puts these objectives on the board every day and makes sure students know it, and then they use that to for their final assessment. So what kind of teacher am I? Am I skills, concept, content, objectives? So I just got so confused. How do you grade if you don't really know what you're grading for? And how do kids understand how to read grades if they don't know what kind of things you're grading for as well? And I felt like at my old school I used to know. I had a really hard balance between this, and this was like the connecting piece of the two, but now I just feel kind of confused. And then my conclusion, and I kind of came to this place of peace when we watched Dan Siegel's video from the Professional Development Day, and Dan Siegel said something that's really stuck with me, which is the MWE. And so I think the hardest thing about teaching is not doing what all the books say to do that's good. Like, here's what to do with homework, and here's what to do with project-based learning, and here's what to do with standards-based grading, and following it like a machine. But I think I got to have the MWE. So I think I've been just working so hard on the WE. How can I be this perfect teacher by following all these perfect rules, and I'm forgetting that I need to be the me. And that means I need to take, all of these colors that everyone gives me and make something of that's authentically me and how I like to teach. And I think, again, that for me is the hardest part of teaching, is knowing who I am and how I'm going to teach it. What does this have to do about homework, you say? Well, Bloom's taxonomy. I really like Bloom's taxonomy. I know that people argue against it, but I think if I can teach these things, if I can teach that knowledge, the content, and I can teach the concepts, and I can teach the skills on how to apply and analyze, and teach them to create with the project-based learning, and somehow balance all these, I don't know how to do that. I think some classes are more here. I think some classes are more here. And what I'm learning is it really just depends on the class. And each class is a different flavor of jelly bean. And I need to just paint my canvas for whatever jelly bean flavor I'm working on, and really figure out where that class lies on the Bloom's taxonomy. I think for the documentary film class, it was really here. So, and, you know, for other classes, it's down here. So I think just being more confident in the me and not trying to fit the we all the time. And so what did you guys have to say about that? So I would have just, well, not normally, but a few weeks ago I made this, and I would have just ended here, but then I sent out an email saying, hey, I should get your input as well. Oh crap, one more picture. Yeah, for the documentary film class I had the hats. Anywho, so Terry, some of the things you said, Terry, were, let's see. You said some stuff here about my modernist class. You came in right at the beginning of the trimester, and you came in on a great day where I was like really trying to explain a homework assignment. One thing you said that I thought was interesting was I allowed students to make decisions about when to submit things, and that you thought this was a really important part of the executive functioning skill set. And that's really fascinating because that's actually what I'm going to focus on a lot more next trimester. So, yay! We should talk about that in our meeting. Yay! Okay, and then, I'm almost done, I promise. The next person who gave me, Laura, you gave me so much like Canvas help. It was fabulous. So fake class for me, and she kind of showed me some ideas of how I can use my modules as the home page, and instead of attaching things to the calendar, which is where kids get all screwy and I get it screwy, just have the assignments here, because sometimes I'm having them turn in assignments in class, and you know, there's just you know, like little exit slips and stuff, and then it gets murky. I'm like, what's on the calendar? This is confusing. Where do I turn things in? So Lori really helped me with that. I also showed Lori my old website. My old website is here. I'm just going to take you into one class. This is my World Studies class, and then into the unit calendars. I loved it because I could design my calendar by units. So I can go into my Africa unit class. And this is really just a calendar of due dates, not of objectives. And yeah, she thought that looked way more organized here than it did on Canvas. And so having to like change my thoughts a little bit on how to work on Canvas and make it just as clear. And what Lori said, and I actually really like this, is to I'll show you my Renaissance homepage. I have a calendar that I plan, but the calendar is more of my objectives and not of due dates. I just said, you know, things that are being assigned that particular day, but I think I'm going to transition my homepage calendar to more of my old style calendar where I actually write in the due dates for things, so it might be more clear there. And then also having the modules underneath the home calendar right here would be so fabulous. So I'm going to try to see if I can do that. I know it sounds really confusing, and I'm sure you are confused on exactly what I mean by this, but anyways, all you need to know is, Lori, it was really helpful. I think a lot of it came down to I think a lot of it came down to just understanding how to be more organized and clear on Canvas, but then also practicing the things I'm learning about what homework should be. Okay, so there you have it. The MWE is what I came up with, and then I got to get a feel for each class. And I guess the last thing to end on is that students feel classes organized if their assignments are organized, and it's something, and you know, practicing all of these things as well. I know the whole MWE thing sounds kind of like lame and ridiculous and not very tangible, but it was like seriously a wacky process of like me getting here and me. Oh, sorry, there's Lori again. I'm almost done. And then the last thing is, okay, so next trimester, what I'm working on. So my first trimester is learning. This trimester I worked on. I feel like I tech again. And then next trimester, what I'm going to work on is really doing backwards design. So exactly telling kids at the first day of the class exactly what the assignments are going to look like. Maybe, of course not all of them, but like just, I guess, putting all of this together and saying, this is what this class is about. This is the jelly bean of this class. And here is all the homework that's going to build up to that jelly bean. And so kids get an understanding of like what they're turning in is essential and really is important. Gosh, I hope that makes sense. Anywho, that is my trimester 2 work. Maybe not as good as the first, but significant to me. All right, y'all. Peace out.